Hi, today we're going to go over text to columns in Excel. So we'll use a couple different examples. This feature can do a lot of different things, actually. The most common thing that it's used for is when you have something like this, a first name and a last name, and you want to split it into multiple columns, one column being the first name and the next column being the last name. Maybe you want to sort it alphabetically by last name, and you can't do that when it's very easily when it's first name, last name. So select the data that you're going to want to split into multiple columns. Go to the Data tab, and then there's a Text to Columns button here. The wizard will come up. Delimited will be, or fixed width will be your first of three screens. Delimited means that a space is going to tell Excel where to stop the current column and start the next column. So in this case, we do have a delimited data set because we're going to use the space as our delimiter, the space in between Bruce and Wayne, Michael and Jackson, etc. If we had data set where we downloaded something and the first 100 characters or spaces were dedicated to the first field, then we would use this fixed width and we would be able to go through that process. But here we have delimited, so we'll stick with delimited. And the next screen will be to specify your delimiter. Like I said, in this case, it's going to be a space. So before I select it, you can see that it does give you this little data preview. So right now it just has everything in one column, just as it is right now. As soon as I select space, you'll see that how this vertical bar emerged, and that is going to indicate that this will be the contents of column A, and then this will be moved to column B. You select next here, and then oftentimes you don't really need to play around with this. This will be how you format the data. And in this case, general is fine. So for both of the columns, and so we'll just click finish, and you can see now we've got first and name only in column A and last name, if it applies, in column B. So that's the standard use, and there's more than that use. Here's just one example of another thing that you can do with text to columns wizard. So let's say that for whatever reason something came out of a system where it put in this represents negative numbers, but it put the negative sign at the end of the number instead of the beginning. And this has definitely happened to me before, and it's pretty frustrating. Normally I'll write this formula to kind of get rid of the negative sign and then add it back. So I would say something like equals right of this, comma, the len of this minus 1. And that would give me, oops, that was supposed to be the left. So then that just gives me everything but that negative. And then I can do a negative number value, convert that text into a number and make it negative. So it's possible to just do it with a formula, but simpler way, highlight the offending cells where you want to put that negative sign at the beginning, text to columns, keep it at delimited, and then take off any delimiters. You don't want to create any extra columns here, so you'll just keep it with no delimiters. And then in this third screen that we kind of bypassed on the last example, keep it at general, but then come over to advanced. And then right here, there's this trailing minus for negative numbers. So make sure that's selected, hit finish, and then you can see that it just swapped them out. And now, that's referencing a cell that's no longer has the issue. So that formula isn't making any sense anymore, but you can see that I got exactly the result I expected there without having to use a formula.